go, mate. You're on.
G'day guys, look, my name's Paul. I'm the owner of Stihl Shop Payneham. I brought along with me today the Territory Manager for Stihl for South Australia, Matt Gladwin. One of our technical guys, Michael Gollan. So Michael travels around all of Australia with our Stihl products and shows all of the dealers all the way around Australia how the products work and a little bit of training on them. And then we've got Marty Holloway, who's the business manager at Stihl Shop Enfield. Firstly, I just want to say thank you for having us here today. We do have some products here which we are going to show you guys, which you can have a play with in the break and things like that. So our new range of cordless products, which is a lithium ion product, okay, and just some blowers, brush cutters, some pants and things like that. One of the main things which we probably want to touch base with you guys is, I suppose, is with regards to what our businesses can offer you guys. All the Stihl shops or dealers around Adelaide, we're all individually owned, okay? So there are a couple of Stihl shops and then you've got a couple of subsidiaries which will sell the products. As I said, Marty's at Enfield, I'm at Payneham. What both of us do, we probably work very closely together with each other. But our businesses is we try and help and service you guys, okay? A little bit of background about myself. I started off in this industry in 1996. I started my own lawn mowing business. I had that for 15 years, okay? So 10 years I was working in it myself, and in 2006 I purchased Stihl Shop Payneham, okay? So I understand how a lawn mowing business works, and I understand what you guys want from businesses like ours, okay? So we pride ourselves on, you look after us and you come and shop with us, we'll look after you when it comes to servicing, okay? So generally with people and for our commercial guys, when you buy it, we'll tag it as a priority customer. So it doesn't matter if I'm not in the shop or someone else isn't in the shop. When you bring it in for servicing and it gets booked into our system, it tells the staff that that customer is a priority customer. And that machine will go straight out to a mechanic, okay? We employ a few more mechanics than most other dealerships, okay? So our turnaround times are a lot quicker than a lot of other dealerships. In the peak time of the years, as you guys will be well aware, you can wait 2 to 3 weeks in some dealerships, okay? At the moment, our turnaround time at Payneham is probably 3 to 4 days. For our commercial guys that come in and look after us, it's 1 to 2, okay? So that's where we try and look after you guys, the commercial contractor, okay? We will endeavour to be closely matched on price, but as I said, our focus is on the customer service side of it and stocking parts so you guys can get the things quickly repaired and get back out there in the field and do what you do best, okay? That's what we try and do here, okay?
So we're moving some products, eh?
Yep. One of our newest products is our lithium ion battery products, okay? So it's been out now for probably 2 years, Michael?
Well, actually, we started with the hedge trimmers about 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we released 36 volt leadless hedge trimmers. They were brushed motors, and our batteries are about 2.2 amp hour, which for nowadays is about normal for most manufacturers. So what we find is that with ours, as technology's changed, we've increased the size. So we're nearly at 5 amp hour for a 36 volt battery. The only issue you do with that is as you increase the capacity, you increase the weight. Now in most products that's okay, but in a hedge trimmer that goes for 2 hours, that makes it a bit heavy. Who's used a hedge trimmer for over 2 hours? Right, so you know what I'm talking about, a petrol machine. You go into a dealership and they say, I'm going to use a machine for 2 hours continuous, and they're going to say, well, you need a $1,000 hedge trimmer. It's going to be this big and it's going to cost you a lot of money. With lithium ion, there's no fumes. There's no hard starting. You pull the trigger and it goes. When you stop the machine, it stops, which means it's no longer using energy. Who's got a rechargeable drill? For you? How long does it go for? A day? 2? A couple of hours? Have you ever actually put it under load continuously to see how long it goes for? I bought a Bosch drill at Christmas time, renovated a bathroom. I mixed up a bucket of tile cement. Do you know I only got 4 minutes out of it? So with our product, it is a very large battery, but it's a good battery. Remember, we're talking about commercial guys. We're not talking about the little cheap stuff that they buy down the local green store. We're talking about a commercial grade product. We've got 2 machines here. That one's actually our trimming machine. That's a HSA 66. Well, our hedge trimmers were upgraded last year. They now run brushless motors, just like the rest of our cordless product. And that means that we're talking in excess of 2 hours on that machine and just on 2 hours with this machine. This is actually a cutter. Now, for those of you who are not too sure about what I'm talking about, a trimmer runs blades that cut like a pair of scissors. So for your leaves, your box hedges, those sorts of things, that gives you a beautiful clean cut. Even when the blades are a little bit dull, it still gives you a clean cut. This machine is a cutter. That means it's designed for the bigger stuff. And I know you guys get phone calls saying, oh, can you come and trim my hedge? And what is it? It's out of control. So that's designed to do the hedge every second, third, fourth week. This is designed for that one you go to 6 months down the track and find out it's a mess. And you have to cut it back in a hurry. Most of the machines that you buy, your commercial petrol machines, are actually this type of machine. They're cutters. So we're talking about machines in petrol that are normally $600–700. Okay? That machine is a trimmer, as I said. But we are finding a lot of people buying it. And I'll give you an example. I went to a Christmas tree farm in January. Now, it's two brothers. They have over 50,000 trees to trim. And they do it twice a year. They're using that machine. And they've so far have not had a problem, and they've just about finished the second round. So that's 100,000 trees that they're pruning into that shape. Remember that they're doing it regularly, and that's what I said before. We're talking about the leaves. In this case, we're talking about needles and things. We're not talking about big branches. All right? So don't be afraid to assume that these are actually really good quality product. They're not, as I said, they're not a toy. When we look at our other products, we've got chainsaws, we've got brush cutters, we've got blowers, we've got all sorts of products in cordless. They're designed for commercial use. There's only one product that you would probably look at and say that's not really commercial use, and that I'd probably agree is the lawnmower. All right? It's no comparison to a large petrol mower. I know that. But this machine, you've got an extendable pole saw. It's the same length as our petrol machines. It will go for about 35 minutes of continuous cutting. Now that's continuous. Nobody is going to sit there and cut continuously with that product. They're going to cut a branch.
6 hours.
Sorry?
6 hours.
Yeah, if you're using it, you cut a branch, but then you stop. You go over and you cut another branch, and then you stop. That whole time you're standing around looking at all the other branches, it's not working. So your battery life is actually a lot longer than 35 minutes. Each product draws a different amount of energy. So this, as I said, an AP180 battery is a 179 watt hours. We're talking watt hours. Amperage is a current. It's not a total figure. Watt hours is a combination of voltage and amperage. So we talk in watts because that's the working current. So we're talking about 179 watt hours versus 115 watt hours. This is the lighter battery. This is actually good for you guys who don't want to get 2 hours out of a hedge trimmer, and you can save some weight. It means that you'll still get about an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes out of it, continuous operation.
How does one compare versus petrol?
It's comparable to our domestic machines. It's a lot lighter than our commercial machines. You can have a feel of it later and have a try. One thing I will point out with the two different trimmers is that the trimmer, which is the one that works like the pair of scissors, the blades go a lot faster. The gear ratio is a lot higher because you're only doing the light stuff. So the idea is to get speed and distance. Whereas the cutter, the gear ratio is a lot lower, and that's to punch through the bigger branches. So there is a difference between the two. You'll find that the cutter will cut slower over a longer distance. So as an example, these guys doing the Christmas tree farm, which is a perfect example, they used to do 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the afternoon. Now using the cordless, they only go 6 hours straight. And in that 6 hours, because the speed's so much faster, they're actually achieving what used to take 2 days. That's 16 hours. So remember, this is about you. You know where your patch is, you know what sort of area you've got to do. So we run a range of products for your environment. It's about choosing which one.
Do you charge batteries on the go?
Yes, you can. So we run 3 different styles of chargers. We run a basic charger, which is only $50. It's an AL100 battery and an AL100 charger, and it only draws 70 watts. Who's seen those little inverters you can put in the cup holder in your car? Okay, so it'll actually run off that. But because it's an AL100, it's a very low speed charge. So it's going to take you about an hour and a half to charge the light battery, and it's going to take about 2.5 to charge the bigger battery. Okay, but we're talking about a machine that goes for 2 hours, so that's not too bad. And remember, it can charge while you're driving as well. The AL300 charger, which is our faster charger, will actually charge the bigger battery in under an hour, and it'll charge this in about 25 to 28 minutes. But you're going to need 330 watts to run it, so you need a bigger inverter.
Is there an old version
Of that? No. Yes, there is. Oh, that's still in the van. There is. There's a pole unit. It's a fixed length. It runs the cutting blade because you're reaching out, so you're not really in full control of it. And it's got a total length of about 2.5 metres, I think, from memory. Had a guess. I think it's about 2.5 metres. So there's actually 3 different styles. There's the 2 handheld and the pole pruner. With the chainsaws, we actually have a few versions. We've got a light, small version, which is our MSA 160. I've actually brought in the MSA 200, which is the bigger version, because when you talk chainsaws, everyone likes a big bar. For some reason, everyone thinks that the bigger the bar, the faster, the better it is. If you buy a chainsaw with a very long bar, you actually make the machine go slower. It's going to take you longer. It also has more chance of touching the ground and blunting the chain, and it's actually not safe, because the longer it is, the more chance you've got of getting the tip caught in the timber and actually causing kickback and giving yourself an injury. So the shorter the bar, the better the bar. As I said, it also makes it lighter. This is actually a top handle saw, which we only recommend for pro users. And the reason being is that pro users use them regularly and they're generally safe with it. Who saw Greg Norman on the news the other week? He hurt himself, didn't he? Where did he get himself? On the arm. Do you know what he did? Because it's a light chainsaw like that, everyone tends to swing it around one-handed. And that means that they grab the branch and they do this. And guess what he did? He did that. There is no such thing as a one-handed chainsaw. I want you to remember that. They're only 2 hands. Have to be.
one-handed Greg Norman?
Oh no, he kept it. They sewed it back on. No, he's still got it. But it is a 2-handed chainsaw. We must remember that. Okay? So this is the top handle version. This is an MSA 160T, and it's only been out since April. And it is quite a powerful saw. I've got a log out there. You can actually have a go into a log and see what you think. Run time, we're talking about 35 minutes, continuous. For most people, that's not too bad. When you use a chain, who's got a chainsaw? Okay, do you ever have to refill it halfway through a job? No, most people don't. It's very rare. These will run exactly the same amount of time as a petrol chainsaw. When we go into orchards, apple orchards, cherry orchards, mangoes in Queensland, apples in Tasmania, cherries in New South Wales, one battery charge actually is equivalent to 2, even 3 tanks fulls of fuel going the same distance. Because remember what I said before, they're on off. They're off half the time while you're walking between trees.
What do you reckon the lifespan is on a battery though?
The battery itself, they say a minimum of 1,000 charges. The battery itself has no memory. You know, 20 years ago we used to have NiCad batteries. And that means that a battery, you had to fully charge it before you put it away. When you used it, you had to discharge it fully before you charged it to keep that memory span. These don't have that. You could actually use that, half flatten it, put it on a shelf, go on a European vacation for 3 years, grab the battery, throw it in the machine, and it would work. It'll only lose 2% of its charge per year. Now there is something that will kill it, and that's extreme temperature. So you guys are out in the road, and we know what temperature it gets in summer, don't we? So if you get to 60, 70 degrees, yes, it will falter. You'll put it in and you'll get red lights. I suggest you take it home, put it somewhere cool, and you'll find probably the next morning it'll come back.
What about rain?
Not a problem. You can use these in the rain. Yep, not an issue. They don't mind getting wet. All right. If it does get full of water, yes, you're going to have a problem, but they are okay to use in the rain. They are brushless and they don't have a problem with that. All right. It is a good idea to clean them every now and then, but I wouldn't go using a pressure cleaner, a water cleaner. Alrighty. Any questions?
Does the battery have a control unit in it?
It's got technology in it, yes. So it's got some smarts in it. Because we run brushless motors now, they've got control boards in them, so they do have some computer technology in there. When you put the battery in, it'll assess the battery and it will assess the tool, and the red lights will flash to tell you that there's a problem. So that way it's not going to, you'll know straight away if there is an issue, and the dealer can certainly plug something in, it will tell us exactly what's wrong. It's actually very, very smart technology. It'll tell us if it's the just by the flashing lights, it'll say whether it's the battery or whether it's the tool itself. That's quite smart.
It also will tell you, we tell you at the dealership how many times you've charged it. Okay? So
It's actually quite good. It's quite good technology.
What have you continuous use when it cuts out, it'll just go off?
Yes, what it does, it runs down to about 15% charge and then just stops dead. Now, the batteries are actually made by Panasonic. They make the actual cell, but we make everything else. The cases, the electronics, the wiring, all the machine itself. A lot of the cordless machines are actually made in Austria, and that's where our factory is for all of our electric tools. We've been building products over there for 25 years now in electric. And cordless comes from that area, from that factory. As I said before though, remember this is a bucket of energy. So each product is going to draw a different amount. So in the hedge trimmer, we said before, 2 hours is roughly what you're going to get. In a chainsaw, it's about 35. In the brush cutter, whippersnippers, we're talking about an hour and 15, roughly, depending on what you're doing. And you're also going to get about 35 out of the mower, which is no good for you guys. A mower is going to need to go for a lot longer than that. Now, what we do find with the mowers is we find a lot of pensioners buying them. They mow for 35 minutes, they take the battery out, put it in the charger, sit down, drink a cup of tea and watch the Days of Our Lives. Then they go back out and keep going, probably because they can't walk very far and they need only short distances at a time.
The thing Michael hasn't mentioned though is with all these handheld cordless products, the reason for their use is so we can use them out of hours. We can use them early in the morning. We've probably got nearly 250 councils across Australia now using these products because they can start at 5 o'clock in the morning. We don't need hearing protection from chainsaws, blowers.
Who's seen the No Noise crew in Adelaide? Anyone seen that? I've seen it. They use manual tools and cordless products. They're actually a council crew. They start very early in the morning and they can go right through till late at night if they want to, because there's no noise. I've actually mowed the lawn at 10 o'clock at night. It sounds silly, but it's true. So we're talking about machines that don't produce any fumes, no smoke, and very little in noise, which is great, especially for retirement villages, in blocks of units, all those sorts of things. Because who's been into a block of units and someone does night shift and happens to be asleep and you wake them up? You get a bit nasty.
You just spend a bit longer there, place.
Sorry?
Yeah.
You just spend a bit longer there, place.
Yeah.
We're awake, actually awake.
Yeah. The boxed hedge needs a prune with a chainsaw, yeah.
I assume, do we buy the machine and the battery?
Yeah, it's a bit like Makita and Bosch. So with Makita and Bosch and those sorts of tools, the good quality tools, you have to buy a battery and a skin and then go from there. So at the moment we are looking at putting together some packs. So you'll buy a box with 2 batteries and a charger. Okay, those things haven't actually come out yet. We're looking at, I think, the end of the year for those. But at the moment you're talking about $250 for the larger battery and $199 for the smaller battery, and as I said, $50 for the charger.
And both batteries will fit all machines?
All machines. Just remember that if you've got a machine that draws a lot of power, the smaller battery is going to run out very fast. As an example, the blower is probably the most unuser. It's the most high load machine. Blowers generally are, and the bigger battery will go for about 15 minutes. All right. Blowers are detrimental. They're the biggest load product you can get. Out of all petrol engines, every petrol engine that you generally have has a governor in it of some kind to stop it over revving, except a blower. A blower doesn't have a governor because when you pull the rope, it's actually under load already. It can't overspeed. It's impossible. So obviously cordless is not the only thing we do. We also do petrol machines, and we'll go into those in a moment. Now, the only other thing I've got there is a backpack battery. The backpack battery is basically 5, it equates to 5 of the larger batteries. Now remember that hedge trimmer, 2 hours? You plug that in, it's 11 hours of continuous use. But there's no weight in the machine because there's no battery. It's just a plug and a wire that hangs off it. So you can actually swing that round all day and it's not an issue. We've actually got crews in Sydney and Melbourne, council crews, cleaning out toilet blocks, stairwells, basements and all sorts of places with the blower on a backpack battery. Now let's put this into perspective with other brands. There are other brands of cordless product out there. Some are toys that are sold in bulk stores, okay? I'm not going to go into those. Let's talk commercial products. There's a company called Palank that produce a backpack cordless system. It's a very expensive system. To give you an idea, they have 3 backpack batteries. They have a 400, a 700 and an 1100. Ours is a 900, just so you know where we sit. We're just below the biggest one. Their 400 watt hour battery is retails for 1100 plus tax. Their 1100 battery is $3,000 plus tax. Ours is $999 including, and it's a 900 watt hour battery. Their hedge trimmer, which is no different to this in strength and durability, is going to cost you $1,200 plus GST. What's the price of that? $399. All right. The trimming one is $299. $299. $299. Yeah, I heard $299. Now, what needs to be maintained on this machine? Blades. What else? Gearbox. So the gearbox, it's got 2 screws. We take the cover off. We put a blob of grease, a special hedge trimmer grease, which is a very sticky multi-purpose grease. Not axle grease. Don't go there. It's a special multi-purpose grease. Put a dog in about the size of a 10-cent piece. I do that once every 6 months. That's about it. The blades can be sharpened. They can be sharpened, but a set of blades, if you buy a set, retail, including tax, for a pair, because there's 2 of them, $66. I know dealers that charge $60 labour just to sharpen the blades without a service. So that's actually good value. Any questions?
What's the weight of the actual battery itself?
7.5 kilos.
Yeah. So it's, but remember it's on your back, it's not in your arm, so you can carry it around all day. The interesting part with the plug and cable off the backpack is that it actually plugs into the back of the unit, which is great for a number of reasons. One is you can actually change the direction of the cable, whether it come down over your left shoulder, over your right shoulder, maybe even out the side, around. You can hang it round your body. You can actually undo the plug and do what the teenagers do and run the leads up your sleeve, all right, like their iPods. Plug it into the back that way if you want to. The cable is replaceable. As with all Stihl products, you can buy the bits and pieces. So in some brands, if you needed to buy a blade, you'd have to get a whole gearbox assembly on the end. With ours, you can buy the individual componentry. All right.
What's the weight of the hedge trimmer with the battery compared to the petrol one?
It's going to depend on the battery that you use. I'd suggest go for the light one anyway. Have a feel of it later. We can have a play outside. There's not a problem with that at all. Alrighty. Any other questions? Any questions on?
Are they comparable power-wise to petrol?
Yes.
Hedge trimmer versus petrol?
It depending on what product you're talking about. In blower, we're talking about our yes, very comparable. The hedge trimmers, absolutely.
15 minutes life on the blower.
Yeah, but that tells you it's high powered, doesn't it? The hedge trimmers, yes, equivalent. Chainsaw is down the lower end of our chainsaw, so it's not like a farm boss or a wood boss. Sorry.
Whippersnippers are main thing.
Whippersnippers are good. They don't take a blade, but we will release next year a blade version, an FSA 90. So that's on the card.
Bump feed head?
They are bump feeds, yes. They're an easy feed, easy spool head. So we have, I don't know if you've seen our heads on some of our machines, you push the cord in the sides and you just wind it in. Okay, that's on the smaller machines. On our larger machines, we have a couple of versions. You can get the bump feed easy spool. You can also get the automatic head.
Can I put a head on my choosing?
That depends on what you're using, because the arbor size and thing. Because when you get a head from an aftermarket manufacturer, they're designed to suit all sorts of different brands and makes and models, and that's going to vary. So long as you use the right diameter cord and keep it within the right length, it doesn't matter what brand or whatever machine you use, that head should fit. What we find with a lot of people is that, one, they take the guard off, or they try and run thicker cord. And why do we do that? Why do we run thicker cord? Won't wear out as quick, right? Okay, what else?
Cut through big shit.
Big shit? Okay. Yeah. Would you believe a lot of people, when I ask though, why do they run thicker cord, it's usually because it keeps breaking. Why does cord break? Anyone else? It's hot. It melts together, doesn't it? It melts together because you're actually running right up against a brick wall or something, and you're actually transferring a lot of heat into the trimming head. In other words, when you're using a trimming head, you should always use the very tip of the cord. What we find with a lot of people is they go right up against the head, against the fence, etc., and there's no cooling space between the line that's being heated and the actual trimming head itself, and the heat will transfer into the head, and where that line touches the next one, they melt together. But cord breaks because it dries out. If you bought a packet of cord this morning and you set it on the dashboard of your car today in the sunshine, you would throw it in the bin. It'll be dried out. How many of you store the nylon cord just on the back of the ute or on the floor in the car? What you want to do is get a container with water in it. Get a small paint tin or something like that, a little plastic container, put the cord in it with a little hole in the top, fill it with water. The more moist the cord, the longer it lasts.
There's one problem with that.
Yeah.
On those bigger
Spools?
barrels here,
Yep.
it's cardboard in the middle, so they'll fall apart and rise. And next thing, you got to pull it out until it's twisted together.
What brand's that?
Still. So,
It's got to be also an old version.
with the core in the middle.
Supercut? No, not Supercut. I haven't seen that one. I don't remember it. I'm used to dealing with the donut packs and those sorts of things. I would never buy, the only time I would buy a roll is if I was going to put it in water, because you get about halfway through and it would just be dried out and keep breaking.
Oh, still there, it's still there.
Yeah, yeah. But if you store it in, if you put it in water, it'll find it'll be softened up and it won't break anywhere near as often. If you look at things like polymer blade kits, we run a polycut system. So if you're doing long grass, that sort of thing, it's a lot safer than running a metal blade, but it will still cut grass this tall, do blackberries, bracken, thistles and all sorts of different materials. And it actually says on the packet, storing water. What we have here is actually a serrated cord. We have a couple of different heads which run, they're called DuroCut. They're a fixed cord head, so basically you get a piece of cord, you fit it in the side and you go with it. This is a DuroCut 20-2. It's designed for our straight shaft brush cutters, probably the sort of machine that you would use, somewhere around the 24 to 35cc bracket. It runs 2 cords. I've actually put 4mm cord in this, which you're not really supposed to do depending on the machine. I've got here an FS250. For those of you who know the models, it's a very large model, and it will actually run the 4mm. On a 47-degree day, I'd be a bit careful on that. Who knows why running a machine in hot weather is not a good idea? What do you think happens? You guys mow. If you guys mow grass at 45 degrees C, or do you just go home and say, I've had enough? I tell you, I'd do the same thing. It's interesting, when you look at engine manufacturers, a lot of them don't recommend that their engines run above 40-degree ambient temperature. Yeah, put that now. It is. Fuel, would you believe, boils at 60 degrees C. So if the engine's ambient temperature is 40 degrees and you start running that engine, the fuel will boil fairly quickly. Who's turned their machine off, got to the next job and the damn thing won't go? All right? Honda engines. If you look at their owner's manual and you look at the gradient of the oils, you'll find the temperature grading finish is at 40. I'll give you a bit of reason why I know that. I started in this industry in 1986 as a little apprentice in a dealership in Melbourne. Worked through a couple of places, and then I got a job at Stihl in the late 90s. In 2002 I left. I was the national service trainer for Honda for 9 years doing power equipment Australia-wide. At the end of 2011 I came back to Stihl. There have always been over the years problems with machinery that cuts out in summer. Australia is a very hot and dry environment. You guys live in the hottest, driest place in the country. And engines don't like that much heat. I've heard of people actually dunking engines into a bucket of water to get them to go. I don't recommend it, but whatever takes your fancy. All right. So, the cord you see is quite thick. When you go thicker in cord, you load the machine up, which is why I asked before about thicker cord. If you put thicker cord in a machine, you increase the drag by 20 to 50% depending on the size of cord. Just one size up is going to increase the load on that machine without actually touching any grass by 20%. If you go too far, your engine won't actually rev properly. That means that that centrifugal clutch won't actually be engaging properly. It'll be slipping because there's not enough revs to keep those shoes against the drum. That means you're going to cook the clutch, wear the shoes out. Not only that, the engine's working very, very hard. That means the engine temperature is going to get a lot hotter. You're going to find fuel vaporisation and all sorts of things. You can actually seize an engine if you put it under too much load. So you can seize a brush cutter by putting really thick cord in it. All right, so be careful. Why did I say about the guard before? Because I've seen people mowing on the sides of the roads and they've got line hanging out this far. I think it's a damn helicopter. Keep it short. The best cord to trim grass is the thinnest cord at the fastest speed. That's a fact. But if you run too small, depending on the environment, yes, it will break because the grass is a bit thick or you've hit a couple of woody material or concrete, bricks, rocks, those sorts of things. So you need to find a happy medium. Remember, the machines are designed to run a certain size cord. We colour code ours so that you use the right size. All right? Try and stick to that. And please make sure you do that with all brands, not just Stihl. I have seen many problems with machines over the years. A lot of people trying to claim warranty on clutches and all sorts of funny things. All right? Any questions?
Just about the battery packs.
Yes?
You said at the end of the year, we're looking at
Next year, sometime late next year or mid to late next year, we are looking at
2015.
it's a brush cutter that you can put a blade on the end of it. Nobody here is going to use a blade, I would expect.
Battery packs.
Battery pack?
Yeah.
What about it?
Marketing the battery, we're going to get multiple batteries and have a combo.
Oh, they're the kits. Sorry, sorry, they're the kits. That means you can buy this, you'll buy a box, okay, a carry box, it's just a carry box, which will come with a charger and 2 batteries in it.
How long before that comes in?
Oh, you can make them up now. You got the boxes and everything in stock. Yeah, so you just get a box, put a charger and 2 batteries in it, make up a special deal for the guys. That can be done. Yeah, so Paul's actually got all the boxes and everything there. He can quite easily make that up for you if you're looking at that. But the actual, as far as Stihl Australia doing that, that's not going to happen until the start of next year, I think.
Also a large box for the
Yeah, there's
backpack one.
a big box for the 900. I don't generally store the big backpack in a box as such, but I've got a big van full of gear, so it just sits in the middle of everything. It's up to you guys what you do with it. Just remember what I said. If you do have them in a black toolbox on the back of your ute and it is 45 degrees in the shade, I can almost guarantee that battery's going to be pretty damn hot. All right? Most people don't do that sort of thing with their tools. They generally store them in a white box, they store them under the ute or a cool place, under the seat in the cab with the windows down, that sort of thing. Makes it a bit easier. We're talking about 2 months of the year where it is 45 degrees, somewhere around there. So, okay, petrol. petrol products, petrol brush cutters. We've got a couple of versions here. We've got an FS94, which is our new model machine that came out a few months ago. FS94 is a 24cc lighter machine, but it actually uses a very high torque motor. It's a newer style motor that we've used in a few of our products, or technology that's been in quite a few of our products. It's called a 2-mix engine. It's not a 2-stroke, it's a 2-mix. Basically what that means is that it runs 2 throats, 2 intakes. That means the carburetor has 2 intakes. So we run an air-fuel mixture in, just like a 2-stroke machine, but we also run a fresh air intake. And that is actually a cushioning of air between the air-fuel mixture coming in and the exhaust gas that's going out the other side. The reason we do that is it stops unburnt fuel going out the exhaust. So for some places who have emission standards, it means that we're not letting unburnt fuel into the atmosphere. That means the emissions are very, very low. But it gives us a side effect. Because we've got a secondary air intake, we actually raise the compression slightly. So we end up with a motor that actually has more power and torque at lower speeds. We're using a little bit less fuel, and we have that less emissions coming out as well. It's a light engine, it's very powerful. Who's had a brush cutter that picked up, pulled the rope and then realised the stop switch was still on? It doesn't have a switch, it has a button. You press the button to stop it. When you let go of it, it's ready to go again. So all you do is grab the starter rope, pull it, and away she goes. The choke on this is a soft choke. So basically what that means is when we set the choke, it sets the throttle at the same time. I don't need to touch it. I pull the rope and it will run. Not cough, turn the choke off, pull it again. This machine will actually run. Who's got a Stihl blower? A BG56 or a BG86? Okay. You've started them before. You put the choke on, you pull the rope and it goes. Okay? They don't cough, choke off, restart. That's the old school stuff. So these actually are much easier to start. Also, they have a thumb wheel here. On your electric drills and those sorts of things, you can actually set the speed of the drill. So you can slow the drill down for those bigger drill bits, so you're not doing as much damage. Because drills and things have certain speeds they must go to. So with this machine, we can actually slow down the speed of the cord, so we're not going to get into, if we're getting around delicate plants and things like that, or small trees, we don't want to ring bark them. We want to be careful about what we do. So we can actually wind this down, and it will wind down the maximum speed of our throttle. The trimming head on the bottom is a fully automatic head. Even a bump feed head, you need to rev it up to get the cord out, don't you? So without winding this back to full revs, if I give it a hard squeeze, it goes to full throttle. I get the cord out, I release it, and it goes back to where I was before. So it gives us the ability to give us that like a second speed, if you like. We can slow down for the delicate areas, pull it through to the full throttle to do the larger areas, or the generally open areas where we don't need that slow speed. So that is adjustable. You can set it wherever you like, and it will work quite well. It is a 2-mix engine, as I said. 2-mix is higher torque at lower speeds. So when we go down to those slower speeds, we've still got good power to do those edges, which a lot of machines don't have. Even some of our other models in our range that are around this size don't have that ability. So it's a very good, powerful machine. Some of you may have noticed we've changed our oils as well. We run 3 different gradings of oil. We run HP, which is a red oil. We run HP Super, and we have HP Ultra. HP Ultra is a fully synthetic, fully biodegradable, no smoke, no ash, no tar, which basically means your engine's going to run a lot cleaner. That means spark arresters, spark plugs, things like that won't clog up. It also means the combustion chamber won't carbon up, which means you're going to get a longer life. It's good insurance. To give you an idea of how good the oil is, I was here in November at Adelaide Airport. A guy came up to me in an army uniform and he said, "We use your oil." He said, in Afghanistan, the American drones flying over the desert at that high temperature, high altitude, they have a 5-litre fuel tank. That 5-litre fuel tank lets them run for 20 hours over the desert. They're aircraft, so every now and then they have to rebuild the engines, and when they pull them apart, they're crystal clean inside. They use HP Ultra Stihl oil. It's the only thing the American Army will use. It's a good indication of how good it is. There's many other reasons why. but it is a good oil. It's good insurance. All right. So that's the FS94. You're quite welcome to have a look at that later on. We've got an FS250. Who's been around more than 10 years in the industry? Couple? Okay, we used to have some big machines, FS120s and 200s. This is its bigger brother. We released this also about the same time as the 94. It's an old school two-stroke, but it's power. If you want power, you want delivery, this is the machine, FS250. Big, plenty of power. There's not a lot in the way of technical advances in it because it's old school. But if you want power, this is the machine. We've also got a combi system. Still runs a combi system that's quite light, easy to manage, has a couple of different attachments you can put in it. You can put a chainsaw, hedge trimmer. You can actually put them on the end of an extension so you can reach up to 4.5 metres. There's the blower attachment. There's all sorts of different gizmos to use. Brooms, sweepers, even a little cultivator for your veggie garden. All right. Easy to attach, nice and light, good strong motors that are easy to look after, very powerful. You can have a go at this one as well later on. Carbon shaft, very light. Pass that round. That's your extension for your pole saw or your hedge trimmer. The hedge trimmer is actually, I should say hedge cutter because it's not a trimmer, it's a cutter. It's a very large, very strong. You can reach nice and straight. You can do the tops of the hedge. Remember, we can go up. When it's bent over like that, you can get a good 4 metres up and do the top of the hedge. Who does the sides of roadways? You can actually put it like that, do the sides of the road. You're not going to throw grass and debris into cars and other places. So it's good for the safety in mind for those sorts of things. It is a good unit, very strong. Again, remember what I said before, all the Stihl products, you can buy the bits and pieces inside. They are repairable. Now I want to talk a little bit about safety here. So who's got a chainsaw? Hand up. Right, keep it up. I want you to keep it up if you've got a pair of safety chaps or trousers. Good. Have you seen what's in them? There's a pair of chaps, you can have a look at those. These are actually our domestic chaps. They run 9 layers of protective material in them. Do we understand how this works? When a chainsaw touches it, the teeth actually pull the debris out and wrap it around the bar chain and sprocket and stop it before it gets into your leg. They're cut resistant, they're not cut proof. It's not stainless steel shark netting. It's a material designed to be dragged out, a bit of a kamikaze if you like, wrap around the bar and chain and sprocket and stop it before it does any damage. I can't guarantee you're not going to get stitches. That'd be impossible. But at least you'll keep your leg. And there's been plenty of stories. I had a guy in Sydney, dealership, sold a guy a big chainsaw and a pair of chaps. The guy came in 6 months later with a bit of a hobble. After a bit of a conversation, because the dealer was quite scared that he was going to get sued, turned out the guy had the chaps on and that was the only reason he still had his leg. Tree fell on him. And as everyone does when they've got a chainsaw, they squeeze everything. They grab a hold and he held the throttle and the tree pushed it down into his leg. But the chaps stopped the chain. And the chain didn't go through. It just scratched the top of his leg. And that's the best part. So you can have a look at those as well. Safety chaps, very important. Remember, safety gear is vital. We've also got lots of other gear now because we're trying to be a bit more specific with the way people do their jobs. These are actually a pair of brush cutter pants. So if you're doing a lot of clearing, paddocks, those sorts of things, reserves, that sort of stuff, this is ideal. Full-length padding, full-length trousers. They do have some basic padding inside them, but they also take. Can we bring them? No. Okay, I'll bring them in a moment. There's also some padding you can put up the front, a bit like shields that sit in the front. Very soft and will absorb that impact. Remember that with a pair of chaps, the chainsaw is actually pulling the debris away from your leg. With this, the brush cutter's out in front of you and the stuff's coming at you. And it's usually around the shin area. The padding actually goes up there and it covers it from about there down. Okay? So they're brush cutter pants. In here, these are actually hedge trimmer pants. Might sound a bit silly, but hedge trimmer pants are just as vital. These are probably more about what you would use as a contractor mowing lawns. They are full-length trousers, but they are zip-off. You can take the bottoms off in summer. With hedge trimmers, different action. With hedge trimmers, a lot of people hurt themselves around this area. And that's because they tend to drop the machine down like that and forget to let go of the throttle. It cuts into the leg. Hedge trimmers are a pinching action. So there's actually material, padding, to go in the front. Grab the keys. Go in the back of the van. Matt, there's the box from, they're in that box where the chaps and stuff are in. Yeah. So there. So the safety material in this does not go up the bottom because we can take the bottom off. They actually go down the top. So the padding sits between here and here. Because that's, remember what I said? The area of danger. Chainsaws, probably the most dangerous piece of equipment you can actually buy. Very sharp, can cause problems. Little saws like this virtually won't give you any kickback at all. If anything, it'll be a slight movement and that's about it. Most people don't hurt themselves up here anymore. It's very, very rare to anyone to hurt themselves up here. Again, just like the hedge trimmer, the most common place is actually there. And if it's not there, it's a petrol machine without the brake on, there, behind. So be aware. This thing is there to protect you and protect the saw. Do you want to just pass them around? Yeah. So the orange ones are the brush cutter ones. This one actually has the black one has a symbol on it for the hedge trimmer, just so you know which one's which. So the idea is that they are work pants. They're not just specific safety apparel for a particular unit. They are a work pant as well, so you can wear them each day without a problem and use them in other environments. They're nice cotton workwear, they're quite safe, they're very well constructed and should last a long time. You'll notice that the two pairs of pants actually have loops above the top. That's for your braces if you're into braces. Some people like to wear braces because it doesn't tend to restrict them. A belt around the front tends to get in the way. All right? Any questions?
They're fairly breathable, say like
Yes.
whether like we're being getting.
Yeah, they are actually.
That'd be my biggest concern, is not putting it up.
The trousers, if you get chainsaw trousers, they can be quite thick, and yes, in a summer's day. So that's where the safety chaps are actually much better. And there's a pair of pro chaps here. These are our professional chaps. Okay? They're professional chaps for professional users. You can see all the buckles and things down the back. Okay? So they have Velcro and buckles to close them up. So the way you do it is you put them on the top first, lift them up, make sure that they're open, put them over your legs and do them up from the top down. Okay? Have a feel of those, they're quite thick. The pro ones are different to the domestic ones. The material in them is very, very different. They're cotton workwear, they're very robust, good stitching, will last a long, long time. They're not government ones or utility ones. Let me explain. Government and utility ones have a lot more fluoro and stuff on them for obviously roadsides, those sorts of things. And they also have arc resistant for electrical work when they're trimming around trees near power lines. I wouldn't suggest going into those only because they're very expensive and they're a bit of a waste for what you do. Those chaps are perfect. They're good all-round protection. They're good for also brush cutter work as well, because you won't get any damage in the front. Okay, they're quite comfortable. They're open at the back, as I said, so you get a lot of airflow. Domestic is no good for what you do, but I did bring them in because I cut them open so you can see what's in them. All right. Any questions?
What's your cost like?
You've got catalogues in front of you, so have a look at the catalogues. All the catalogues are there. So you've got
169, 269 professional chaps, and the trousers range from 149, 69, 199. Brush cover heads. All the prices are in there.
That big catalogue.
So have you got any questions?
Fairly easy washing.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, the chaps, I just stick them in the wash machine, just like an ordinary wash, just like doing your jocks and socks, and then hang them on the line. Don't put them in a dryer. No. Just do a general wash. You don't need to be delicate or anything. Just put them in a general wash, and they'll generally come up quite well.
After a couple of days, you stink them out.
Yeah, a bit manky, eh? Yeah. Now, I use Stihl gear all over the country. I'm actually Melbourne based, but I spend all year driving around the country. So I see a lot. I do Hobart to Perth to Cairns and everywhere in between. So I see all types of grass and wood and you name it. And I haven't really struck anything that doesn't work. Even the mower has mowed grass in Hobart and Cairns and Perth and everywhere in between. But the only place I didn't mow was the Nullarbor because there really wasn't any. Alrighty. If you've got any questions later, you're quite welcome to come up and ask. I'll be here for a while. Alright. Should be in the book, I would think. The Duro Cut? 39.
Also a protective cover to save
So this head, as you see it, it's 39? 39 for the head, okay? There is a protective cover that you can put on the bottom because we know that you guys are going to rub it on the ground. So there is a protective cover you can put on the bottom that will protect it. It's held on by 4 screws and it's replaceable. You can buy them. They're a couple of bucks each.
That'd be too big for the bobby tool.
For the combi? Yeah, no, it'd be fine. Yeah, absolutely. And you can see how low it goes to the ground too. You get really close to the ground. That's not too bad.
So the advantage is better for slashing. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. Very much so. So it's good for slashing. The blade, the cord, remember what I said? Put them in into water. They actually come in a square box. You take the lid off, you fill the lid with water, pour that in, put the lid back on, leave it for a day or two, and then use your cords. All right. Well done, gentlemen.
Beautiful guys. Just want to get Mike a bit of a crack. Beautiful guys. We've got the pizzas here, so run up and grab some. There's some Cokie there. Here now. So the guys are going to sit around for a little bit. So if you've got any other questions, we'll talk some machinery.
Spin it around.
That's cool. So you're saying there's a fair difference in Yeah. We're actually
The main thing with these, you do, you
Yep.
don't have to be simple, you don't have to.
Their idea, whether or not we've got enough line, that's all. Other than that, zero milestone,
I usually get the seat.
don't know whether he's holding them or not, but we'll have a look. Now, I would sell probably 3 or 4 days a week. Mainly the contractors that have, they're doing the size of they were using
That one really is specific design, the top end of chainsaw. It just gives that saw lots of like.
Alright, I'll still get that.
Where's your business? How long have you been in the business? The other thing which you probably didn't mention is the fact that when you're doing a extra in certain areas, you're using carbon emissions to you're then bringing that in. So if you're in a particular area for a particular length of time, they can let you move to another area.
Put that on, yeah. That's fine. So it's all a customer.
So if you go to a store, using that, to bring my pictures two reasons. My wife now puts a battery in the blower. She puts it in the blower. I just she won't do the edges. Scroll back to your initial page is to what you're
So with your line, just come into what you want before you start. If there's just like that,
That's all it's one, is it? That can't come more.
There's no, in the world of the moment, with an extended shaft, there's no multi-tools. Like you've got to go with then you can have your multi-tools. That's right. Fixed length, that's right. Then you add your shaft.
And then you have to go like these.
No, that basically a combi with one extension shaft and a chancel bed is almost the same length as this. We don't recommend it. You can put more on. The problem is it gets too long. Guys that have done that, like for example, where the guy used 7 different shafts and then put the chainsaw head on, because at one of the locks, the timber was down during winter, they had all congregated so they couldn't open the gates. And basically all they did was they had this thing, because they weren't holding it out, holding it down,